Hello, everybody. Today, they have released a new patch for Overwatch, where they have released Sombra, as well as some Torbjörn changes. And I'd actually like to go over the Torbjörn changes, because, as you know, I am an engineer main, and I like turret people and stuff. So first of all, they released Sombra, who's basically the spy. They can go invisible, they can sap stuff. We're not really going to talk about them. I imagine everyone else has already talked in depth about Sombra. Your main concern is that they can silence you and disable your turrets, but you can rebuild your turrets anyway, like, it's not going to be that much of a problem. The only real problem is if you molten core and then they can just sap your turret. That's going to be a bit of a problem, but they don't have a McCree on their team if they have a Sombra. Heck, they could probably have both, but I don't know. I feel like she's not going to do as much DPS, but we'll see. We'll see. So, Torbjörn's changes. Let's look at the patch notes. Scrap is now automatically generated over time. This basically, I've gone into the game and it makes it so you get 2 scrap every second, like it's really quick, like you get it like very fast, and this adds up very quick. You've reduced the amount of scrap that you get from fallen enemies by 40%. I believe this is like 20 or 15 scrap, so you only get a little bit from kills. But this basically prevents the whole thing of like, when you're playing Torbjörn and you're defending, if your team isn't doing so well, or the kills that you're getting are very far back, you're basically being starved out of scrap and you don't have any armor packs. So you feel like you're a little bit worthless of the team because you're not providing one of your functions. At the same time, if you're doing really well and you're getting a lot of armor, you could just stack a lot of armor packs on a point and people just could stay sustained forever because they've got these like really strong armor packs. So this kind of mitigates that by like making the rewards of having a shit ton of like scrap not be as strong, but also give you more sustain of scrap so that a lone Torbjörn can still use armor packs, which is very nice. I really like this change. They've also adjusted the Forge Hammer, so its swing speed is increased by 25%, and the damage is decreased by 27%. I'm not entirely sure about how much damage the hammer does now, but it's probably not worth actually dealing damage to people with a hammer. I believe it's around like the 40 or 50 damage mark. Before it did like 75 damage, which was like Reinhardt's hammer, but it's got such a short range that it's not really worth like actually engaging people with your hammer unless they're right up in your grill and you haven't got any ammo, and you might as well go for it. Because of the passive reload in this game, where if you switch away from your weapon and then wait for the 2-second reload time, it reloads while you don't have it out. It was a strat before to like, when you finished shooting all your shots and you're still in a fight, to just quickly pull out the hammer and spin around and then hit people. And like, you may not actually hit them, but it's worth because you can get maybe 2 or 3 swings in before you switch back to your shotgun and it's fully loaded. And Overwatch has got this weird melee rage thing where if you swing your weapon and spin around, it will hit everything around you, which is very evident of Reinhardt. But if you've got like high sensitivity or a macro, you could just spin around as Torbjörn and be like Phantom from Dirty Bomb. So the swing speed is a really nice change. You can build up your stuff a lot faster. It's really cool with Molten Core. You can just like swing that thing like crazy. It's mental. And this is mainly to cover up the fact that there was a animation cancel thing where as you would swing your melee, you could switch to your rivet gun and switch back just as it hit to save time. Now, because of the swing speed, it's basically you're always swinging at the same speed that the animation cancel was. So I'm not sure if they've actually removed the animation cancel or just made it redundant. Okay, so like my main problem with Torbjörn is that he is very good at ranged combat and keeping people back, but because you had to always go to the front line to pick up scrap, it kind of felt janky. Like, you had to always be picking up scrap so you can give scrap to your teammates as armor packs, which is very useful, and I feel like if you weren't doing that, your team was at a disadvantage for having you. You could be playing someone else, basically. But all of his kit makes him really good for standing really far away. You put up a turret in the back line. You don't want to be putting your turrets really close because they have a lot of range and they have a lot of significant damage that if you just put it in the back line so it's always hitting someone at a range, it's being really useful. And that's generally how you rack up a lot of eliminations, by just hitting everybody on the enemy team as soon as they come into your objective. your rivet gun also does a lot of damage. Like, if you can headshot with like the single hit of that, it does a lot of damage, especially if you're being damaged at by Mercy. I believe you can like one-shot a lot of the squishy characters. It does quite close to like McCree's headshot damage, which is pretty good. The problem is it's a projectile, so it's hard to aim. But you have got a lot of shots in your clips, so you can basically just stand in a position where you're looking at a choke from a safe area and just keep spamming that, and then when people walk in a choke, they get hit. And I feel like that's what you should be doing as Torbjörn. You should always be shooting your gun at a range. Now, because of this scrap generation, you can stay back and still provide a lot of arm packs. I like to play Torbjörn as a flank character. I sit on the flank where my turret can get a lot of vision on the point and where they're going to push in, and an area where if someone goes into 1v1 me, I can fuck them up. Because I wouldn't say I'm the best Torbjörn. Even then, saying that I'm the best Torbjörn doesn't mean I'm as good as a mediocre McCree. That's just how it works. This is a game of rock, paper, scissors. But I'd say I'm pretty good at this, and I can kill people. So I really like Torbjörn in this game. He's definitely a lot more fun than Engineer in TF2, in my opinion. Mainly because I can headshot. It's nice to be able to be on an even playing field, even against your counters. Now, the last thing I want to bring up, which is more of just a general strategy thing and not really much of an update, is how I tend to play Torbjörn. And basically what you should be doing is treating your guns like mini sentries, where you want to plop it down, you want to get it to level 2 like as soon as possible so it does the most damage, and then you just leave it. You don't want to be repairing that unless like no one's around and it's low. Like, that turret's gonna die, you often can't repair it. Thanks to the swing speed, you actually can kind of repair it, but if a Pharah or a Genji is shooting it from range, just leave it. Like, it's not really worth, like, tanking, especially since you could get hurt in the process. You should just always be placing down new turrets, especially if you have a Reinhardt on your team, because if you have a Reinhardt, you can keep up the pressure really well. Like, your Reinhardt's gonna be moving up with a shield, and you want to be putting a turret behind that shield. If your Reinhardt moves back, you want to put a turret behind the shield. You always want to have a gun that's always hitting the enemy team. And they're really disposable. You don't have to spend metal to build them. It's just the cooldowns, and a little bit of time based on, like, hitting it to level it up. You just always want to have an active turret. You don't want to be sitting at the back line turtling a gun that's not doing anything. And one last thing, actually, is they did a change for Symmetra turrets and Symmetra teleporters and Torbjörn sentries, which made it so people shooting it don't actually build ultimate, which is amazing, because before, if you built a turret that was being hit and then you were repairing it, you were essentially feeding the enemy team. In fact, anytime you put down the turret and the enemy killed it, you were feeding the enemy team ultimate. Now that doesn't actually do anything for them, it's really good because I can be even more aggressive with my turrets, put down those trash sentries at the beginning of the round to farm ultimate. And I feel that was a really good change. It was like in line with the early beta where people could build ultimate off Reinhardt's shield or May's wall. It just didn't make any sense. Like, thank you for that change, Blizzard. These changes to Torbjörn were amazing. I love it. I really like this game. Hopefully people won't scream at me when I play my favorite character. Anyway, thank you for watching this. I really enjoy this. Thank you. See ya.